Hello. It's no longer a news that many African nations are going through a lot now, from political instability to security issues and health, especially with the presence of coronavirus. Things Africa is known for is eroding by the day, sadly. But the values and the etiquette rooted in our daily activities play a major role in the socio-political and socio-cultural display of leadership and decision evident in the playout of many elections taking place in the region right now. This is Africa Diary, a program that gives you in-depth analysis of many happenings during the week with positive perspective to what outside the world is looking at and a repositioning glance at what really is the situation like. Today, I shall be moving around the African continent with a view to giving you the necessary information you might have missed about some stories during the week and supplying you succinct updates of what is about to be. My name is Ajara Tijani. Welcome to Africa Diary. We're going to be starting with Somaliland. Somaliland national political parties have held meeting with the representatives of the international community over accelerating the upcoming parliamentary and local council elections in the country. Let's get to see the report.
The three national political parties of Somaliland, Kulmiye, Wadani and U'id, have held special meetings with the Somaliland international partners. The center of the meeting was to expedite preparation for the upcoming elections in the country. This meeting lasted more than an hour. The two sides have highlighted the key role of the country's women and youth in leadership and also to encourage them to participate in decision-making platforms. Though it was recently when the Somaliland parliament suspended quotas for women and minority clans in the parliament. About 2 months ago, Somaliland national political parties reached an agreement which made the long political dispute to an end. International partners also expressed optimism Somaliland's political parties agreement. Somaliland authorities have severally postponed its parliamentary elections despite protests by the opposition political parties. The House of Representatives term ended in 2010 and the local council's term also ended in 2017.
Still in Somaliland, the Somaliland President, Musabi Abdi, has pardoned ex-Somalia's Deputy Prime Minister, Mohamed Omar Arte, after renouncing his views against Somaliland statehood. He is the son of Somalia's former Prime Minister in 1991 to 1993 and FM Omar Arte Kalib. This is also a major blow to the federal government and it claims that Somaliland is part of its territory.
Somaliland President Musa Bihi has finally granted a presidential pardon to Mohamed Omar Arte, who is a former Somalia Deputy Prime Minister and member of the House of Representatives. In a statement issued by the president, affirming that he pardoned him after consultations with traditional elders and the country's attorney general. The statement added that the president took the decision considering Arte's move to renounce his views, though he did not renounce his views publicly, which is another issue that many people might put in as suspicious. Mohamed Omar Arte is the son of Somalia's former Prime Minister and Foreign Minister in 1991 to 1993, Omar Arte Kalib. He hails from Somaliland but was a unionist who supported Somaliland and Somalia to remain one country. Somaliland authorities do not usually allow members of the Somalia federal government to live or travel inside its territory, and this presidential pardon follows Mohamed Omar's request to visit his father, Omar Arte Kalib, who is ailing in Hargeisa, Somaliland. Similar to Arte, Somaliland administration earlier granted pardons to Ahmad Ismail Samata, who had earlier run for Somalia president, and former Foreign Minister Ismail Hurre Bupa, and other renowned politicians.
And now to Somalia. Welcoming the role played by the president of Galmudug in helping Somalia set on a path towards elections, representatives of some of the country's key partners called for more of the recent collaboration among its leaders, which led to a national elections. The visit to the federal member states was the second this month for officials from the four international organizations following a visit to southwest states almost 2 weeks ago. Despite the limited in-person engagement during recent months because of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the international partners have remained in close communication with President Kariye and the Galmudug administration via virtual meetings. They also met with the Galmudug leader in the country's capital, Mogadishu, last month. Echoing the international partners' message from Southwest State earlier this month, the United Nations Special Representative said that in their meeting today with President Kariye, they discussed the importance of continuing good relations between the federal government of Somalia and the country's federal member states, noting that they had been encouraged by the revitalization of the dialogue between the two. In his remarks to the media, Mr. Swan also highlighted key aspects of preparing for the country's elections, including among them the need for ensuring that 30% quota for women's representation in the parliamentary elections is achieved.
I would like to commend President Ahmed Abdi Kariye for his leadership in hosting the series of meetings in Dusamareb in July and August, leading to the consultative meetings in Mogadishu last month, during which the agreement on the elections model was reached. We urge all of Somalia's leaders to continue to collaborate in this manner with the preparations for the national elections so that they are underpinned by transparency, fairness, and inclusivity.
And that the delegate selection committees include diverse representation. The AU, EU, IGAD, and UN officials also commended President Kariye for his efforts at reconciliation and urged that this continue. In addition, the international representatives welcomed the presence of peacekeeping forces from the African Union Mission in Somalia, AMISOM forces, to support local Somali security forces in their efforts to maintain peace and security, and noted that partners are also working with the Galmudug administration to advance programs for the police as part of a broader security sector strategy. Still in Somalia, UN says it is committed to giving support to Somalia in the areas of security assistance, empowerment, health and food security, among others. James Swan, Special Representative of the Secretary General for Somalia and head of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia, UNSOM, said this during the virtual press conference to mark the UN Day.
Today, the UN is represented in Somalia through 2 Security Council mandated missions and more than 20 agencies, funds, and programs.
Somalia, according to Swan, has since independence been a key member of the UN with adequate representations in many areas, which include security-mandated mission and over 20 agencies-funded programs. He said logistic support to security apparatus such as AMISOM and Somali Central Security is paramount to the UN, especially in the area of coordinations, peacekeeping contributions, and casualty evacuation, among others. He affirmed that efforts are on the way to support the nation in security area as there is a transformation plan for Somalia's security need in 2021. On internally displaced and refugees, the UN, according to Swan, also supports trust fund mechanism, adding that agencies, funds and programs in Somalia are covering a wide range of humanitarian services and other human angle related issues for a better society.
There are more than 20 UN agencies, funds and programs represented here, covering a wide array of areas of focus, from food security to development to health to women's empowerment to crime and anti-corruption, to supporting and assisting refugees, displaced, and really the gamut. I think it's fair to say that the UN family is supporting activities really across the full range of interests and concerns of Somali authorities and people.
On election in Somalia, he said the UN is playing a significant role in terms of good governance by encouraging dialogue, cooperations, collaborations and compromise among the Somalian leaders, communities, political figures and other relevant stakeholders.
We have a good office's role designed to encourage dialogue, cooperation, compromise among Somali leaders and actors as the country still advances from a period of conflict to more stable conditions. We play a supporting role, not a leading role in that, but it is an effort quietly, supportively, to encourage dialogue, collaboration among Somali leaders, political figures, and communities.
24th of October has been celebrated as United Nations Day since 1948. In 1971, the United Nations General Assembly recommended that the day be observed by member states as a public holiday. Now in Kenya, 2 years after the historic handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga, the two politicians have both spoken in favor of a report that could put an end to electoral violence in the region.
Document that has been worked on and again, I repeat, for a period now of 2 years. And a document whose objective is really nothing more than to find what ails our country and hopefully give us a solution that will heal our country.
Members of the parliament will have to vote on an amendment to the 2010 constitution which will change the presidential system into a hybrid structure that will reintroduce an official role for the leader of the opposition. Raila Amolo Odinga, the leader of the opposition, added, known as the Building Bridges Initiative, this law is a consequence of the violence that occurred after election in 2017 and caused 90 deaths.
We had a three-tier structure of government: the local, the region, and the national. At Naivasha, the region was scrapped. We ended up now with the counties, the two-tier, the national and the county, Your Excellency. So this is an issue that could be revisited.
It is no longer a news that Tanzania has held its election. Of course, Tanzania's election has come and gone, with President Magufuli and Zanzibar's presidential candidate casting their vote, but allegations surrounding the success of the election process, it's something else. However, Tanzania's Electoral Commission has dismissed opposition allegations of fraud in Wednesday's general election. The head of the National Elections Commission, Semistokus Kaigage, said claims of fake ballot papers were unsubstantiated.
We have discovered in different polling stations, we have seen these ballot papers, and we have caught some people with these papers.
The main opposition presidential candidate, Tunde of the Chadema party, claimed that there were widespread irregularities and his government were prevented from accessing polling stations. The opposition also said that there were irregularities in the semi-autonomous archipelago of Zanzibar, where unrest marred early voting on 27th of October.
One person is given maybe 10 or 15, up to 20. And there are some people who came today in the morning to report to us that they have been given 10 votes to vote at a time.
Local media have said voting passed off peacefully across the mainland and Zanzibar. Results from the presidential elections are not expected for days. After the internet monitor, NetBlocks reported widespread internet disruption that affected Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram and Google services. Proton VPN, an open-source VPN provider, said on Twitter that the authorities were now trying to block VPN services. President John Magufuli, who has been accused of clamping down on public freedoms, is seeking a second 5-year term. New ambassadors from South Korea, Oman and Vietnam have announced that they intend to boost relations between their countries and Rwanda for the benefit of the people they serve. They made a statement on Tuesday after presenting their credentials to President Paul Kagame. The report.
To present his credentials was Ambassador Chai Jin-weon of South Korea, a country that has extensive cooperation with Rwanda in education, agriculture, rural development, ICT, and development in general, with support channeled through the Korea International Cooperation Agency. Between 2012 and 2020, 9 South Korean companies invested $268 million.
During my tenure, I would like to strengthen our close partnership and make a contribution to Rwanda's sustainable development. I would like to focus on the promotion of development cooperation and economic cooperation and people-to-people exchange.
Next was Oman's ambassador to Rwanda, Saleh bin Sulaiman bin Ahmed Al-Hadi. The two countries established diplomatic ties 12 years ago, and trade between the two has been steadily increasing, with 2017 registering a jump from close to 900 million Rwandan francs to more than 2 billion Rwandan francs. 82% of Rwanda's petroleum needs are met by Oman. It in turn receives agricultural produce from Rwanda.
Oman very open to receive any foreign investment, as well as I've heard the wisdom words of His Excellency the President. Now he told me that the Rwanda also is very open for the foreign investment. We are doing the same. So really would like to see this two business environment community getting in touch together and doing a good business work. We have a lot of opportunities since we are laying in the Indian Ocean. We have a very large ports and free zone areas. So at this moment, would like to extend my invitation.
We're now in Guinea. Of course, so much has happened in Guinea recently, especially with the election. Electoral authorities in Guinea declared President Alpha Condé the winner of Sunday's election with 59.49% of the vote, defeating his main rival, Khalil Diallo. EU concern over credibility of Guinea poll result. Of course, the European Union has said that although voting in Guinea was calm, questions remain as to the credibility of the result. It said it had taken note of the provisional result that announced President Alpha Condé's win. Guinea's 82-year-old leader Alpha Condé won a controversial third term in office according to preliminary results amid violent protests across the country. The US has urged all parties to peacefully resolve electoral disputes through established institutions. It said it supported diplomatic efforts by the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, the African Union and the UN. The main opposition leader, Cheleo Dalio Diallo, has declared himself winner and was prevented from leaving his house until Wednesday, when he said the security officers outside his home had been withdrawn. The European Union earlier has said that although voting in Guinea was calm, questions remain as to the credibility of the result. A delegation of mediators is in the country and has met various political actors, including opposition leader Cheleo Dalio Diallo, who has been prevented from leaving his house. There have been clashes between opposition supporters and security forces across the nation since the opposition leader declared himself winner. And now to Nigeria. Of course, the result from the protest is still lingering. The Nigerian National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, has fined 3 television stations over their unprofessional coverage of the #EndSARS protest. Channels Television, AIT, and Arise TV are required to pay 3 million naira, equivalent to $7,800 each, to the regulator. Channels Television, AIT, and Arise TV are required to pay 3 million naira, equivalent to $7,800 each, to the regulator. The head of the commission, Armstrong Idachaba, said the TV stations used unverified user-generated content from violent scenes caught on camera during the protest. He said the footage stimulated anger and heightened the violence in line with the provision of Section 569 of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, which states that the broadcaster shall be held liable for any breach of the code emanation from the use of material from the user-generated sources. The Commission therefore sanctioned Arise TV, Channels TV and AIT in line with the provision of the Broadcasting Code. The NBC statement read in part, Mr. Idachaba condemned the attack on 2 media houses during the wave of violence and said it was a threat to press freedom. The Commission had warned media houses not to embarrass the government in their coverage of the protest. Still in Nigeria, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed for peace as a judicial panel set up to investigate police abuses in the commercial hub of Lagos begins sitting. The investigation panel was one of the demands of the protesters who want police officers accused of abuse to be held accountable. They also want victims of police brutality or their relatives to be compensated by the government. Lagos State was the first of the country's 36 states to set up a panel and has asked people to submit complaints. In a tweet, President Buhari said the inquiry had his full support. He said he had all along avoided going into a debate about the shootings in Lekki Toll Gate, a wealthy suburb in Lagos, until all the facts are established, according to a statement from his office. The president advises that peace, brotherhood, and intercommunal harmony are central to our ethos and urges Nigerians not to turn against one another in hate, the statement said. The investigation will start after nearly 2 weeks of protest across Nigeria by youth demanding police reforms and how the country is run. President Buhari said 69 people were killed during the violent protest, including 51 civilians. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said the authorities has expanded the scope of investigations to include the shooting incident at the Lekki Toll Gate last Tuesday. Moving on to Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast opposition has rejected the government's plan to reform the Electoral Commission ahead of next week's election. It maintains it will boycott the election. Well, we're expecting free, peaceful and fair election from that region. Even though in the same West African region, we are still expecting more elections as Ghana is warming up. Let's get to see this report and then we'll be back. President Alassane Ouattara is vying for a controversial third term. His candidature has caused unrest in the country. The UN has expressed concern over ongoing violence that has in recent days left at least 7 people dead and more than 40 injured, according to the authorities. Opposition candidates are maintaining their policy of civil disobedience and reiterated their request for international mediation. Maurice Guakau, A spokesperson for the opposition told reporters on Thursday the two main opposition candidates, former President Henry Konan Bade and former Prime Minister Pascal Affi N'Guessan, announced the boycott earlier in the month. They asked their supporters to block what they describe as an electoral coup. So much has been said on the program today. We hope you enjoy all the packages. Before we kiss a goodbye or before we draw the curtain, you know how we do it on the program. We give you African Toma Pips. I'm talking about proverbs, and we'll be right back. Well, I'm sure you enjoy that proverb, and of course the package from the beginning. We want to say a big thank you to you for staying tuned from the beginning till now. This is coming to you from the Haute Kabarga Africa, CBA TV, the voice of East Africa and beyond. Keep liking, comment, and subscribe to the channel. My name remains Ajara Tijani. Until next time, next week, so to say, to come your way, remain safe. It's a bye-bye.